Dear listeners, my name is Matej Pánik and I belong to the Department of Psychology at Matej University. I would like to introduce our research project on creativity to you. Grasping the creativity in all its variable complexity seems an unattainable goal. Nevertheless, we are convinced that by studying it, we can gradually approach its elusive core, and we believe that it is possible to peer into its corners from a side that has long remained far from researchers' grasp. Research on creativity has been going on for more than 6 decades, but quantitative approaches still play a dominant role in its study. Most current methods are based on Guilford's work and focus on divergent thinking. Like other authors, we consider divergent thinking to be a fundamental component of creativity. However, we believe that the exclusive use of divergent-oriented tests may in some way reduce the potential richness of the creative output. Although each of methods has its place and justification, creativity is a multifaceted phenomenon that can be studied through different angles. Our aim, however, is not to attempt to grasp it comprehensively, but rather to add another piece of the puzzle to the overall mosaic. Our intention is therefore to show the latent potential of the thematic apperception test in the context of creativity research. As already indicated, we chose the thematic apperception test as our research method. It's a projective method that is mainly used in the clinical field. Projective tests are intended to uncover feelings, desires, and conflicts that are hidden from conscious awareness. Distinguishing features of projective techniques include relatively unstructured tasks and virtually unlimited possible responses. The TAT is popularly known as the picture interpretation technique because it uses a series of provocative yet ambiguous pictures about which the subject is asked to tell a story. Now you can see an example of one of the cards. Although the connection between creating stories and creativity is obvious at first glance, it's surprising that TAT is left aside when exploring it. Murray himself literally states that the purpose of the TAT is to evoke fantasies revealing hidden and unconscious complexes by a procedure stimulating literary creativity. The primary goal of our exploratory research is thus to try to identify the characteristics contained in the narratives that were created through the TAT cards and that might indicate individuals' creative potential. The research sample consists of 50 active artists divided into the following groups. There were 10 narratives for each of the 50 participants, which gave 500 stories for the analysis. We approach the identification of categories in an interpretative framework. In the first phase, we discussed our knowledge and experience in the field under study. In the next stage, we focused on further study of specialized literature in the field of creative writing, fiction, and creativity in general. The most fundamental part was the repeated readings of all 500 collected stories in order to gain insight and identify aspects that might imply the author's creativity. The next step was open coding and defining concepts. We then discussed and reviewed all findings and propositions and sought support in the literature. The last phase was the labeling and development of the emerging category. The whole analytical process was repeated as new categories were created. Each category was thus both data-driven and theoretically anchored. One of the emerging categories is the genre configuration. We assume that a creative individual will produce more diverse stories with different climaxes, and thus their protocol will encompass more genres. For narrative analysis, we used Kevin Murray's classification of genre identification. We also consider stories with a surprising plot twist to be another of our strongest categories. Literary theorists consider this unpredictable climax to be one of the hallmarks of a well-crafted story. Despite the fact that the participants did not have enough space to prepare complex plots, some of them managed to create a shocking turn of events even on a relatively small area. Other criteria we work with are humor, figures of speech, or character development. We believe that our study has shed light on one of the gray areas of creativity research and offered suggestions for its further study from a site that has long remained averted. Thank you for your attention.